Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all about that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and I'm thrilled to have our special guest today being Nicky Billou. He is a powerhouse entrepreneur. He is a #1 international best-selling author. And as a Christian immigrant from the Middle East, Nicky brings a deep passion really for bringing people and business and believing in their success. And it's really not about the numbers to him. It's about relationships. It's about impact. And you already know one of my biggest core values is having a positive impact, right? So Nicky has shared his energy and expertise and really his insights on over 650 shows and podcasts worldwide. So he's a 2-time New York bestselling author. He's a trusted advisor. And honestly, he's helped scale businesses to 7, 8, and even 9 figures. I am thrilled to have him on. Nicky, thank you so much for taking the time.
Devin, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's an honor to be here. Let's roll.
Let's do it. Well, let's dive straight in. How did you, what's a little bit of your backstory for the listeners?
As you said, I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, man, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And that was a world-changing cataclysmic event. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he got together with my mom. They talked, and they made a decision that they were going to get me and my 2 brothers out of Iran. Now, it took them a few years to actually execute on that. At the time, right, I didn't want to leave my home or my friends. But looking back, living where I live now in Toronto, Canada, where they brought us to, I could see that this was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for me and my 2 brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. And Devin, inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet marches and wants to march to the tune of their own drummer. They want to chart their own course. And you think about it, entrepreneurs especially, they need freedom. Freedom's like oxygen to an entrepreneur. Without freedom, you got no free expression. Without free expression, you got no free enterprise. And free enterprise is the bedrock of entrepreneurship, right? Otherwise, you're going to have to kiss the ass of the people in power just to be able to run your business. And that is not a good way. And so I've become the biggest champion for freedom there ever was, man. I started reading people like Milton Friedman, Friedrich Hayek. I started reading Ayn Rand and her magisterial books. You know, The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged, We the Living, Anthem. And I just got myself seeped into this. And I live next door to the greatest testament and monument to freedom that the world has ever seen, the United States of America. The only nation in world history founded on the premise that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and liberty. Let freedom ring, man. Let freedom ring. I think every entrepreneur, especially an American entrepreneur, should kiss the ground every day and thank God and thank the founding fathers of America for creating an opportunity to live a life of their choosing. You think about this. This is not normal. This is not ordinary. This is not what the world is like. This is America. You know what I'm saying, Devin? This is America. And I speak as a Canadian with a reverence for what America is and what America's created. And now my late father, he was an entrepreneur, Devin. He was the kind of man, if you knew him and you were looking for work, he'd sit you down in his office. He'd call all his entrepreneur buddies and he would be hardcore until one of them gave you a job. He'd ethically manipulate them. And then he'd say, yo, Devin, you're going to be a director of marketing in such and such an export company that pays $150K. You start now. Get out of here. And then if you were trying to start a business, man, he'd sit you down in his office. He'd listen to your plan. and he was a very smart man. He'd done his MBA in the United Kingdom, which for Iran was a big deal. And he'd give you his best thoughts on your idea. And then, you know, he would put you in touch with people who had access to capital. He'd get you some clients if he could, even if you were competing with him, because he didn't really believe in competition. And if you were his friend and you were trying to buy a car or a house and you didn't have quite enough, the bank wouldn't give you enough money, he'd top you up with a loan. And if you tried to pay him back, he'd kick you out of his office. He'd get out. And people say to me all the time when I share this story, they go, "What are you talking about? Nobody does that." And I said, "You're wrong, man. The late, great Napoleon Billou, he did that." And they said, "Who does that? Why would he do that? What's in it for him?" They go, "What's in it for him?" I'll tell you what's in it for him. First of all, he was a devout and committed Christian. And he believed that he was a sinner and he'd been saved by his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And it was his duty as a devout and committed Christian to share his blessings with other people. He took that very seriously at a level that most people can't comprehend. Okay. And secondly, he did it because he could. He was rich, man. He was successful. He had the dough. You know, I worshiped the ground my dad walked on, man. I wanted to be just like him. When I got up, you know, every day when I was a kid, 7, 8 years old, I just wanted to be around my dad. And dad would say to me, "Son, life, it's about people. It's not about numbers, son, not money, people." I go, "Oh, okay, Dad." And then he'd say to me, "Son, even business, it's about people. Not numbers, not money, people." And I go, "Dad, but how can you do business without money?" He said, "You can't, son, but you can't do business without people either." Right? What is business? He said he would draw a diagram for me. You know, the Venn diagram, the 3 circles. It's the only thing Kamala Harris said that I really liked. She said she likes Venn diagrams. I go, "Yeah, I like Venn diagrams too." I don't like anything else you have to say, but I like Venn diagrams. So the first circle was people. The second circle was problems. And the third circle was profit. What is a business after all, Devin? A business is an enterprise created to solve problems for people for a profit. That's all it is, right? People, problems, profit. You solve acute problems for amazing people and you make an awesome profit. That's the awe-inspiring purpose of business. You know, and I learned this at the feet of Napoleon Billou, a great man, the greatest, honestly. And my dad would always tell me, "Son, that man sitting in front of you, man, that's someone's husband. That's someone's son. That's someone's father. That's someone's brother. That's a hero to somebody." Right? Maybe someone just like you disappointed them in business. It's your job to restore their faith in humanity. That's your job. And I'm like, "Wow, okay, Dad." And he said, he needs someone to believe in him. You need someone to believe in you. Everybody does. There are days where our belief in ourselves wobbles. You know what I mean? Wobbles.
Yep.
And you know what steadies it? Someone else who sees you for who you really are. They bring you a little spark of belief, and it can turn your belief into a roaring fire. And then you're off into the races, and great things will happen for you. This is my background. This is how I was raised.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's so interesting because my dad, I mean, what age did you come over from the Middle East, if you don't mind me asking?
We left Iran when I was 13, and we got to Canada. I was just shy of 15.
Okay. So, I mean, you're a little bit older. My dad came from Cuba and he was only 3, but you know, similar startup, you know, and I think it's so amazing and it's so inspiring, you know, for people like your father and my grandfather to take their family and move from, you know, a country that they know, you know, is not going to be the best fit for the family, but move to a completely new country with no, you know, set in stone, you know, this is going to work and, you know, and basically just do it on pure faith. Right. And it's so amazing. So when you think you're going through a hard time, imagine them. Right. They took that risk so you could have the opportunity that you have. Right. So I think that's so interesting. So, I mean, I think it's so cool because you had not only that amazing inspiration of your watching your dad do that, especially in the later ages. My father only being 3 years old, doesn't probably remember a lot of those transitions, but having a father that was an entrepreneur, right? And having that perspective and that whole, mindset basically molding. When your father came to Canada with you guys, what did he start doing? How did he start making a living, immediately, or,
Well, Dad had a business in Iran. That business didn't disappear, so it continued without him. He directed it from here. But when he got here, he got into a few different businesses. He opened a string of tanning salons, and he also got into real estate. He would buy homes, he would fix them up, and then he'd sell them, for a tidy profit. So he was in import export, which was the main business he had in Iran. He still did that, and he did real estate. And he also had the tanning salon, although that was just for a few years. We were in and out of that business within 5 years.
No, that's so awesome. So what was your first real experience stepping into your own light as an entrepreneur, or, maybe even before the author stage?
That's a great question. So I really became an entrepreneur a little over 20 years ago. Like, really jumped into that space. The last company that I'd worked for was a .com company, and it went belly up, during the .com bubble bursting, right? And I was like, what am I going to do? And what became super clear to me is that God did not want me to work for people anymore. And, everything my father had taught me was starting to resonate, to make sense. So I got into the field of coaching and consulting. Back then, I was in the health and fitness coaching at first. I was in that field for a good 10 years. But it was all about people. It was all about making a difference for your fellow man. And it was all about having control over my own schedule, being able to grow my income whatever way I wanted to. I mean, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. This week, I could make $50,000, $100,000. I could make $1 million. It can happen. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. While having a job, just over broke, that opportunity isn't necessarily there.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because, like, as you say that, it resonates so deeply with me, because I've had this same conversation when I first stepped into my own as an entrepreneur, solopreneur at first, and then now an entrepreneur, in terms of, having a gym and everything like that. But it's funny because we have that same commonality of, I was in the health and fitness space, still am. And, one of those limitations, my dad, and his dad came over, got normal jobs. My dad was an LAPD officer. He recently retired. But when I was stepping into that entrepreneur light, he was not upset, but worried, and worried because it was a field he didn't know. And, obviously all your parents want to do is protect you and, give you what they know is safe. But now him seeing everything start to flourish and stuff, it's nice to show him that everything that he's sacrificed, his father has sacrificed, my grandpa, was all worth it, and it's so honestly, like your analogy of it's not a numbers game, it's a people game, right? That's truly what it is. But that's, for me, that goes more than just business. That's life, right? From personal training, I scaled it to 6 figures, gym and everything like that. And it wasn't about numbers. It was genuinely about the people. If you focus on having an impact, in my opinion, if you focus on having an impact on the people, the money starts to come. But if you focus on the money, the people don't start to come, right? So can you share your philosophy a little bit more on, like, the whole, it's a people game, not a numbers game?
Absolutely. I'll share the story of one of my clients. You're going to like this, because this is a fellow who was a personal trainer, struggling, and now he's got a very successful gym. His name's Callum Shaw. And I met him in April of 2018. And when he came to me, he was making like $3,000 to $5,000 a month on a good month, right? Treading water. You know what I mean? Treading water. He came to me because he needed help. Signed up for a program I have, high-level mastermind with a lot of coaching. And he said, how do I grow my business? And I said, you grow your business by growing how much you serve people. Because he told me, I don't like selling. But nobody likes selling. Devin, do you like to be sold? I don't want to be sold. No one wants to be sold. But Devin, do you like to be served by someone?
100%.
Everybody loves that, right? Everybody. You love it. I love it. Everybody loves it. So I said, just don't think of it as selling, man. Think of it as serving. And he said, okay, so how do I do that? I said, we need to narrow your focus. So that's the number one thing you got to understand. Too many people try to be all things to all people. I said, no. So he said, how do I do that? So I said, well, who do you want to work with and why? He said, I really like to work with guys, with men, especially dads who have like recent dads who got the dad bod thing happening. And I'm going to help them get rid of the dad bod. You know, zap the dad bod. That was kind of his thing. I said, I like it. It's good. So all the messaging we helped him create was around that. And then I got him into action. So Devin, my number one characteristic, because I've done a number of personality tests and profiles of my strengths and weaknesses. So the one of the best ones is called Strengths Finder, Clifton Strengths Finder by the Gallup organization. You know, the Gallup is the pollster. So my number one strength there is called activator. That means I get into action myself and I get people into action, right? I don't let them talk. I say, what's going on? And I get them to act. So I got Callum into action. Within 2 months, Buddy went from like, $3,000 to $5,000 a month to $30,000 a month. 30. That's a 10X. As a personal trainer, you didn't have a gym yet then. How many personal trainers do you know make $30,000 a month, bro?
Not very many.
Not very many, right? So Callum was with me for 2 years. He did really well. His best ever month was $46,000, which is pretty freaking amazing, I thought. And then he opened up a gym, got in with a couple partners, and he expanded the types. He hired people to work under him, so he didn't just work with the dad bods. He had a whole bunch of other things going. And now he's making $90,000, $100,000 a month with his gym. And here's the truth, bro. Here's the truth. I believed in this man. I poured into this man. I helped this man win. And to me, that is what you need to do. Whatever your business is, whether you're a fitness coach, whether you're a business coach, a relationship coach, you need to pour into people. You need to see and dig for where they're hurting, where they're suffering. And your job has got to be to alleviate the suffering. You can't look in a man's eyes or in a woman's eyes and see his pain or her pain and be okay to do nothing about it. This is why I say to people who say, I hate selling, I just go, I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's a cop-out. Sorry, ma'am, that's a cop-out. You're scared of being real with somebody. You're scared of being real with somebody who could use you. You should never try to sell somebody something they don't want or need. You know what I'm saying? Ever.
Right.
But man, oh man, it would be an incredible thing for you to take a stand for someone who needs you and walk them past their fear so they can say yes to themselves. They're not saying yes to you, to your offer, to your gym, to whatever. They're saying yes to themselves. And it's your job to walk a person who's in pain to a future where they're going to be out of pain.
That's awesome. That's truly awesome. And going into that a little bit, right? You're talking about how you helped him scale his business and stuff. And as someone who's helped those entrepreneurs scale businesses to 7, 8, and even 9 figures, what would you say some of the most common challenges that they may face, and how do you really help them overcome it? Like, what would be the most common challenge?
Well, when people are earlier in business, the lead flow and sales problem is a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
A really, really big deal. They don't know how to get leads, and they suck at sales. Suck is a technical business term, right? So what I do for people is I teach them how to sell, and I teach them how to get leads. But more than anything, I teach them to stay in action, because people think, oh my God, there's got to be a method, a way, a secret. I got news for you. There isn't. There's all kinds of ways that work. Now, there's all kinds of ways today that don't work, that used to work in the past, and that's a whole different conversation. Well, what matters is less how you go about doing it. What matters is that you go about doing it. And you gotta just emotionally accept that you're going to need to sell. Reframe it, call it serving, but it's sales. You are not going to have a business if you don't sell people, Devin. You're just not. You have a hobby.
Yep.
Business owners have sales organizations, and they understand the value and the importance of sales. Hobbyists, well, they don't have sales organizations because they don't get it. They don't care.
No, I think the interesting thing though too is that there's like a bad rep with the word sales, right? And I tell people that, sales, especially our staff, is like, you sell every day in life, right? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend, right? You sold them on you being the best candidate for being their significant other, right? 100%. Do you have, a best friend? Well, at one point you sold them on the reasons you would be the best fit to be their best friend, right? You sell in every form and fashion of your life. It's just how you look at things. And one of the things I like to, tell them, like you talk about, is basically you're serving someone, right? You're not at our gym and stuff. We don't like to sell people on memberships. They come in, they see our model, they try it, and we want them to want to be here. But at the end of the day, you're selling it in a way that you're having them answer the questions, right? You're having them provide their reasons and their answers and stuff to themselves, right? And so if you can show them, and almost like a doctor prescribes a prescription for you if you have an injury, same deal, right? And that goes for anything. You go onto a car lot, well, you're not just there to look at cars, you're there for a reason, right? You don't want to spend your free time just looking at cars just to, window shop. Like, there's a reason. So the best car salesman, find that reason and, basically start to talk to you about it. But I would say another question I want to kind of dive into off of this subject would be, for someone in business that's maybe feeling stuck or overwhelmed in their current, situation, but really have a dream of scaling their business, what would be your advice to that?
There's 4 qualities you need to have to be successful in anything. The first is the quality of decisiveness, right? You need to be decisive. You need to make a decision that you're going to do something. It can't be, I'll give it a shot, I'll try it. No, man, I'm doing this. You understand what I'm saying? That's number 1, right? I will tell you a story from my own life. I used to be a top fitness coach. I got into business coaching. I gained weight every year. Over 12 years, I put on 50 plus pounds. I got disgusted with myself. I spied myself in the mirror with my shirt off, my belly hanging over my jeans. I said, no more. I made a decision that moment that I was going to turn that around. Second decision that I made was I was going to commit to a process, because I used to be a trainer, but I wasn't a trainer anymore. I needed a trainer, right? And I sucked at the game of getting fit and had for several years. And I committed that I was going to learn how to get fit and lean again. because you're going to suck at something until you're okay at it, until you're good at it, until you're great at it. The third thing, right? Third quality is you got to be coachable and you got to have a coach. I hired a guy who put guys my age on stage. They call him Hammer the Hammer Camera, Hammer Fitness. Okay. I called him up and I said, hey, here's my story. Can you help me? He said, yes. I said, is it possible for a man my age? He says, yeah. I said, how long it'll take? He said, 6 months to a year. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I didn't even ask him what he charged. And then fourthly, you got to be resourceful. You got to put in the time, the energy, the money to win at something. To win at something. If you are trying to get better at anything and you're unwilling to invest in you, it's not going to work for you, man. You're an idiot. Let's just say, Devin, you're telling me, Nicky, I want to double, triple my business, right? And you said, Nicky, how should I do that? The first thing I'm going to tell you is, Devin, go buy 10 books on various aspects of how to scale gyms, how to scale businesses, how to grow leaders. Like this, you got to grow yourself as a leader to be a better, to do better than you're doing now. You need to be a better leader than you are right now. $30 a book, that's $300. If you were unwilling to invest that $300, I wash my hands of you because there's no way you're going to succeed. The second thing is you probably need to sign up for a couple of workshops or courses, right? Those go from anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 each. Let's just say they were $5,000 each. So that's $10,000. If you're unwilling to do that, you're done. Thirdly, is I'd probably tell you, you need a coach. You need a coach you trust, someone who's going to activate you, like I do for people, get you out of your comfort zone, get you into action. The minimum a coach is going to cost you is $10,000, and it goes up from there. So guys I work with, like if a guy works with me for a full year, one-on-one, it's $100,000, right? So say 10 to 100 grand, let's say 20 grand is what you're going to spend on your coaching. So there you go, bro. 20 grand on coaching, 10 grand on conferences, $300 on books. That's $33,000 of investment in the most important asset in your business, you. That's is a no-brainer, right? That is a no-brainer. How much do you think Apple invested in itself last year as an organization?
No idea.
$400 billion. $400 billion. How much do you think their training budget is? Just their training budget for employees. It's in the billions. Billions. You're telling me you're not going to invest in yourself? Are you nuts? Are you high? That's the first thing you got to do. Skills you don't have that you need to get, invest in acquiring them. And you have employees, you need to invest in their training too. You got $1 million a year gym? I'd say you probably need to put $100,000 a year away to invest in you and your team, minimum. Because if you do that, then you'll go be a $2 million gym. The great Robin Sharma, the author of the legendary book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, just sold 15 million copies of that book, all right? Once said to me, I used to be his fitness trainer, if you want to double your income this year, triple your investment in personal and professional development. That means buy the books, hire the coaches, join the masterminds, attend the conferences and courses. Do it all. Minimum. So someone who's struggling, this is what I tell them. Invest in yourself large. Get a loan if you need to, if you don't have the cash. But do it. Do it now.
No, that's so honestly, it's so true. I mean, I've hired, coaches, and, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaches, and, I'm part of masterminds, and there's levels to it too, right? There you can sign up and, for the masterminds and get into the base level one. And it's like, you'll get some information, if you're contributing and all that kind of stuff too. But once you want to really start elevating your circle, you got to start elevating the amount you've invested in yourself. so that you can acquire some of those skills. And also my big thing is like shortening the timeline, right? The way I view it is, I want to shorten the timeline. Someone else has already faced these problems. Someone's already, overcame these struggles. Why am I going to sit here and beat my head against the wall, for the next month, year, however long it takes me to solve the problem when I can do it in a day or a week, and it's like, it's a no brainer. It ends up paying for itself. And that's the craziest thing is people are so scared to invest in themselves, but yet they're okay just settling and only having a dream. Right? Because a dream that's always a dream, it's just, it's make believe, right? You got to actually start taking action for it to become a reality, right? So one thing I do want to mention, and I know a lot of the things that you described, is all through stories, right? And I think it's so cool that you have stories to all the answers and stuff. So how do you think that storytelling and the importance of it plays a role in connecting with people and even more so growing a business?
Brother, that's such a good point. I think human beings relate to one another with story. And if you believe what I said at the beginning of the show, which is life is a people game, not a numbers game. If you want to grow your business, you got to be telling lots of stories, man. You got to be telling stories. That's how you're going to connect and relate to your fellow man and woman. That really is. And you got to listen to people's stories, because those stories are what are going to have them connect with you, right? I'm a big believer in using stories. When I come on podcast, I tell between 3 and 10 stories, depending on how long the show goes for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Looking back on your journey, what's one piece of advice that you wish you'd have received earlier in your career for you personally?
What you just said, shorten the timeline, man. Shorten the timeline. That's one thing I wish I had received as advice and acted on. I'd probably be way ahead of where I am right now.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, you've been on guest, appearances, and you've talked with, some of the world's top leaders and influencers. What are maybe the top 1 or 2 lessons that you've learned or taken away from just conversations with them that resonate with you?
The greatest people in the world love people. They're like my father. That's what I really have understood. My father was a great, great man, and he understood that life was about people. And, guys like John Maxwell, he's all about his fellow man and woman. Guys like Jack Canfield, all about people. That's what they're all into. And I'll end off my appearance with you with one last story. Okay, you're gonna love the story. It's a beautiful story. So many years ago, there was a woman who came to us. And at the time that we met her, she had been the country director for one of the world's largest and most famous personal development corporations, like world renowned. And she ran Canada. And she brought a guy on board to help her run the company because she thought he was very talented, right? Kind of like Steve Jobs back in the day with John Scully and Apple. Remember that story? If you've ever watched the movies about it or read his books about this guy. Anyways, just like Steve and John, for the first year, they got along great. But after year 1, just like Steve and John, their visions of the future started to diverge, and they started to clash. And they had a board of directors, and the board of directors got involved, and they sided with him, and they kicked her out of her own company. She started Canada. So you might think to yourself, how the hell do you get kicked out of a company you started? It can happen when there's board of directors involved. So for a year and a half, this woman was bereft and lost. Someone told her about me. And I knew her tangentially and slightly. So we met. She came. She did our program. And she says, okay, this is great. I'm signing up. And I said, great, sign up, girl. And we really poured into her. We loved on her. And in her first month with us, man, remember for 18 months, she's not been making money, right? She made 10 grand. So she was ecstatic. In her second month, she made 12 grand. In her third month, she made 18 grand. In her fourth month, she made $62,200. this was powerful. And that number, it'll become germane in a moment. She was ecstatic. She kept going from strength to strength. Anyways, she lives in Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada, and I live in Toronto. They're a 5-hour drive apart. And my son, my oldest son, at the time he was 12. He's 18 now. Gosh, almost 19. That's crazy. He used to play soccer. He played very high-level soccer. He's working now, and he's out of that field. He had a tournament in Ottawa. So we drove to Ottawa, and on the way there, I just called her up. I said, hey, I'm on my way to Ottawa with my son. He's got a tourney. You got a son his age, right? She goes, yeah. I said, well, why don't you bring your boy, watch the game. We'll all meet up. We'll have fun. Maybe grab a bite to eat after. She said, yeah, that sounds great. So, they came, they saw the game. We ate. Like, it was a very hurried, type of thing, right? But she's a client, good client relations, all that stuff. And I liked her. So I thought, yeah, why not? Anyways, a few weeks later, she came to one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshops. This is a really exclusive high-end program for top-level entrepreneurs that we do that really helps them create a powerful thought leader personal brand. And it can help like a guy like you in fitness, doing this right. It can help you 10x your business. We've helped lots of guys do that. It's really powerful. So it's really great. It's expensive too, right? It's not cheap, right? So like 9-10 grand. And then we have people sign up and come to that. And then we have like an upsell to a year-long program, right? 40 grand type of thing. And we came to the part of the upsell. The way I do the upsell is I ask the people in the room to talk about their experience. It's way better than me saying, sign up, sign up, sign up, right? So time for the upsell. And I say, who would like to speak? Normally, the way it works is people put up their hand. I pick on somebody. Not today. She just bounded on stage, like ran up on stage and almost knocked me on my ass. And she's like this small, like petite blonde woman, right? And I'm like, whoa. Okay, I guess you want to talk. Here you go. Here's the mic. And I like recede into the background, right? Putting on my suit, looking sharp. And she's just looking, and I'm standing behind her. So I see her from behind, just like gazing across the audience, right? And then all of a sudden, I see her shoulders go like this. And then I hear a sob, and I'm like, whoa, is she crying? So, Devin, I don't know what you're like when women cry. But, dude, the first place I go to and I went to that day is, well, what the fuck did I do wrong? Why is she crying? Right? A lot of men do that, right? So, my girlfriend who works with me, she came on stage with, girlfriend's a very sweet, kind, beautiful woman, like inside and out, right? And she walks over, hands her a box of tissues, and she gratefully accepts, and she's sniffing, she's sobbing, and then she turns to me and she goes, Nicky, and she's still sobbing, right? And I'm just standing there like numb a little bit, right? Going, oh my God, what's she going to say, right? She said, you didn't know this, but when you and your son came to visit me and my son, my little boy said to me, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? 12-year-old boys, you've seen them, like hyper high energy, like they want to know shit, right? So she goes, oh, sweetheart, we're going to go see Nicky Billou and his son in this tournament. And she said, the impossible happened. He went pure quiet. She's like, what? He says, everything okay, son? She goes, yeah. I said, Mommy, are we going to go meet the man who saved our family? So, Devin, you may gather I'm not a pussy, right? I'm from Iran. I'm a tough man, okay? I'm tough as nails. And I don't really cry in public. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I barely cry. Right. Bro, the waterworks turned on and I cried like a little girl. Like, just, like, whoa, like that's a heavy trip she just laid on me, right? I'm like, excuse me, what did you just say? And she's bawling and we're hugging. And she said, when we first, started working together, I never told you, but I had not made any money in 18 months. I hadn't paid my mortgage in months. My husband and I were fighting every day, loud, like cats and dogs in front of our 3 little boys. My boys were freaking out. They thought we were going to break up. We were going to lose our family. They thought we were going to lose our home, lose our family. The number one reason couples break up is fights over money, right? You heard this before, Devin?
Yep.
Money and sex. But money. And she said, you helped me make enough money to pay the bank back. And we stopped fighting. And I thought we were going to break up too. I thought it was over. But we stopped fighting and it saved our family. You literally helped me save my family. So, bro, I'm crying this whole time, like gushing, crying, like, didn't care. She cried. We hugged. Everybody like, oh, they all clap. She sits down. Now, remember I told you this is a $40,000 program, right, that I'm upselling? Right. So not everybody buys a $40,000 program in the room. You probably have noticed that yourself. You've been in a room or two, you told me, right? Not everybody buys a 40K program, right? In fact, most people don't. You would probably agree, right? Some people do, but most don't. We had 8 prospects in the room for the program. And usually this is how it goes. Some people are, sign me up. Some people are, forget it. And some people are, I don't know. And I got to talk to them and see if I can get them off the fence. So, Devin, do you want to take a guess what happened this time?
It was probably a rush to the table.
Devin, everyone signed up for the $40,000 program. Everyone. All 8.
That's crazy.
It's never happened that way before or since. Like, I've signed most of the people in the room since. Never again, everybody. And there were 2 guys, 2 of the prospects had told me the day before the enrollment, they had taken me aside and said, look, Nicky, buddy, I want to talk to you. And they said, look, I know, I've been to these events. There's going to be an enrollment opportunity coming, right? You're going to have something else you're going to want to sell us. Like, that's the way he said, sell us. Like, that energy, like, dude. He said, I just want you to know. And like his energy was really in my face, right? Like just you with his hand like that I will not be buying whatever it is you're selling in your enrollment up there. And I don't want you to be disappointed or angry, but the energy was like, fuck you, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. How dare you even like consider selling me, right? Like it was that kind of energy. And I'm like, okay, dude, whatever, dude. Like I didn't want to like get into that energy with him, right? Okay, good. Just whatever. It's like you do what you want to do. All good. All good. That sumbitch was the first dude to sign up. The first dude. The first. And he came to me with the same energy, but just slightly dialed down. He said, you son of a bitch. Excuse me? He said, I wasn't going to sign up for your damn opportunity. I said, yeah, so why did you? Right? So I really didn't give a shit if he signed up or not, right? He was a little annoying, to tell the truth at the time. But then he let his mask slip and he got real. He got real with me. He said, I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting emotional just saying it. He says, I don't know, what just happened here. He said to me, but I guess I come to these events and people are full of shit and they just want your money. And That's why I told you what I told you, right? I don't want one more time to be ripped off by somebody. Right? He said, but there's nothing you said, nothing you did. But what that woman said, what her little boy said, shows me that's not who you are. And I do need help. And he paid him full. In full. There's a payment plan. He didn't take it. It was wild.
That's awesome.
Dude, here's all I got to say to you, to your listener. There are people out there that are hurting. Really hurting. Their life is on the line. There's people that are ready to put the business end of a gun in their mouth. There's people that are coming to you and their family is about to fall apart like this woman. Their kid's about to die of cancer. God put him on your path because he has infused you with a special charge, a special mission to help them. And when you say to yourself, I don't want to be pushy or salesy or reek of commission breath, what you're really saying to God is, no, thank you. I don't want to be the instrument of your will. So I'm just going to suggest to you that you put that BS thinking aside and you step forward for humanity. And that's a wrap.
I couldn't imagine a better episode. Guys, if you're listening, I know through these amazing stories and through the amazing knowledge that Nicky has dropped today, you definitely have gotten value. So do not be selfish and definitely share this with someone that you care about. And Nicky, where can people connect with you?
I'm the only Nicky Billou on the planet. At Nicky Billou on your favorite social media platform will find me. Perfect. And if you're a business owner and you're suffering and you're hoping you get to meet somebody who helps people who's not full of shit, why don't you get on my calendar? I'd love to talk to you. And my calendar can be found at ecircleacademy.com/appointment. Let me know you came from Devin's show. And let's talk.
I'll put that link in the show notes, as well as his social media. So make sure you guys connect with him. Make sure you guys share this episode with a friend and give us that 5-star review because it does help other people find us. But Nicky, thank you so much for taking the time. I do greatly appreciate it. And I know the audience did as well.
Thank you, Devin. It's been a lot of fun.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset causes shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slack.